Right, welcome back. Firstly, I feel the need to apologise for my lack of nautical knowledge. The side pod stroke thrusters on the side of my powerboat, I've been referring to those as hydrofoils. I've now learned, done some research, and hydrofoils are actually the fins that stick from under the bottom of a watercraft, and it actually raises it up and makes it look like it's floating on the top of the water, and it makes it go faster. So again, I apologise for my lack of nautical knowledge. So I've got some more progress to show you. Turning the camera around, basically on my side pod stroke thrusters, I've added these triangular sections, the top, middle and underneath. So I've glued those on. Very difficult to get those on because they kept trying to slip underneath the top lip of my side pod. Measuring my bits of cardboard out with my vernier and making sure they fit properly, glued all those in, and it looks absolutely fantastic. You can see both sides. You can also see the pen marks where I've actually marked them out. Now those are glued on, I've then gone on to do some filling. If you remember, I actually measured the rear section out wrong, so I've had to fill that in. I filled in there and a little some gaps there, as you can see. Remember when I put the side pods on and there was a little gap? So I've filled all those in. Now with the rear of the side pod stroke thrusters, what I've done is I've put a bit of sponge in there and then glued that in, and it's dried all lovely and stiff. Because basically I wasn't going to try and put a plate to measure on there because I didn't think it would meet right. So what I've done with like I said, I've put the sponge in, let that dry, and then I've basically just whacked some filler in there, and obviously I've got to sand all that down. Now the front here, you've got this like pyramid. It's actually a targeting laser. So some of you may have already figured out what I'm trying to build. So I'm just going to pause this video and finally reveal what I'm actually trying to build. Right, there it is. That's what I'm trying to build. The actual Thunderboat from Thunder in Paradise. Now I've been trying to get some screen grabs off the internet, and they're not very good, to be honest. So what I've done is I've done a bit of research, and there's this guy in France who's built this wonderful scratch-built RC version of Thunder, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to be building that using his page as a guide. I'm going to flick back, and you can see that he's put some various pictures in action, and it looks absolutely wonderful. He's even gone to the actual effort to build a rocket launcher and a Gatling gun. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely good. Like I said, I'm going to be using this as a guide. Yes, we all know Thunder in Paradise weren't the best TV show in the world, but it was always good to see the actual action sequences with Thunder. So again, that's what I'm building. Stay with me. Right, welcome back. Continuing on with Thunder. Basically what I've done is I've just done all the sanding. As you can see, it doesn't look nearly as lumpy and clumpy as it was. I've also sanded off the backs of the side pods, as you can see. Not bad at all. I did do a bit of filling in there, but while I was actually trying to sand it out, that actually popped back out again inside, so I just put a bit of glue on the inside to re-secure that. Now my targeting pyramid, I'd actually put some filler down the back on the front of here on these little edges, so I couldn't put all of the targeting pyramid on. So once I sanded that down, you can see with my modelling putty I've actually added to the targeting pyramid, as you can see, and just had it leaning on the front of the actual front screen at the bottom, just to hide that a bit. So now all the scratch building's done, I can actually start on the kit parts. Stay with me. Right, welcome back. As you can see, my top deck is all done. Now using a couple of the kit parts, you mainly got this rail here. So I glued that in. It was a bit difficult because when I put the front section in, the back section wanted to pop out. So I just had to hold it down while the glue dried. It was a pain in the arse. Then you got the rope line cleats. You got 2 there. Now, according to the kit plans, you put a couple back here, but to be honest, I filled those holes in and just left the 2 there. Now, the actual holes that were there, for the square holes, there's 1 there and 1 there for those vents. What I did is I just put a bit of plastic on the underside, as you can see, and I've just put the tape on just to hold it, give it a bit of extra security. Once that had dry, I then filled the holes in, the square holes, with the filler, let that dry, and then smoothed it down. Because I thought maybe I could use the vents, but to be honest, they were too small for my weapons bay doors, so I just left them. Now, talking about the weapons bay doors, they actually started life out as a cable tie, or zip tie as you Americans call it. Now, I cut it out, I measured it to what I needed, and then you can see the grooves there. I filled those in with a bit of filler, and then once the filler dried, I'd sanded it down and then just glued them on. So those are my weapons bay doors. You got the Gatling gun weapon bay door, and you got the rocket launcher weapon bay door. Obviously, I'm not going to build a Gatling gun or a rocket, but like I said, they're good enough. Not bad for it was the actual cable ties were actually thick enough. Now, there was some sensors around there on some pictures that I saw, so I just got some tree sprue. The one side was actually flat and the other side was domed slightly, so I just glued those down. And you got this circular piece here, which actually started life out as a headlight, if you remember from my Del Boy Capri build. Just put that on there for the sensor dome. And now the targeting pyramid itself, the original modelling clay I used, which was just normal modelling clay that you put in the oven to dry, it didn't really dry that much, and it was quite soft. I couldn't use my 2-part putty because it had all dried up because I hadn't used it in a while. So what I did is I picked up some yellow grey milliput, and then I mixed it all together, kneading it and stuff. You know, you knead it for about 2 minutes. And you can see from the marble that I had left over, that is rock hard. So I've smoothed off my targeting pyramid, give the top edges and the side edges a bit more, sanded those down to make it a bit more sharper. It's not 100% straight, but it'll do. And the milliput cost me £2.67 off Amazon. But there it is, the top's all done, so now all I've got to do is just glue that to the hull. Stay with me. Right, welcome back. As you can see, I've now put the top deck onto the hull. I'm having to use some tape while the glue dries because I can't clamp it, unfortunately. So I've put a bit of tape around both sides of the front edge there. I've put some on the middle of the deck on top of the weapons bay doors, and some around the back here, as you can see. So I'll just let the glue work its magic for 24 hours, and it'll be time to take the tape off. Stay with me. Right, welcome back. As you can see, took all the tape off now. The hull's now glued to the deck. As you can see, it's lovely and glued. And then the only thing I've got to do now, on the back section here, is put the 2 motors on, the 2 stabilisers on, and these 4 pipes. I don't know if they're exhausts or something. So basically with the motors, you've got 2 halves to the motor. So I glued those together, sanded the seam down, and just above my thumb there you can see a little rod. It's like a square shaped U that goes all the way around, and you got the propeller. Now in the back of the engine, the motors, you can see I've drilled a hole and then put a bit of the tree sprue in just to give it a bit of extra security, because on the back here you've got some raised lines there. I don't know if you can just make them out, and it's just a guide where to put everything. And you can see that I've drilled 2 holes there for the engine, for the motors, and then with those guide lines, that's where you glue everything. So that's all I've got to do now. Construction is almost complete. Stay with me. Right, welcome back. As you can see, I've now glued all the last of the kit parts on. You've got like these 4 exhausts. Put them into the little channels where it tells you to put them. So those are glued in. Then you've got these stabilisers here. There was 2 parts. You had the main stabiliser and the rod, so I had to glue that in. And that's glued in, number 9 and number 10. Then you've got the 2 motors, as you can see. Glued those in. I left those for about an hour to dry, maybe 2. And then finally this stabiliser rod, the steering arm, whatever you want to call it. So I just plopped them on top of each of the motors, and then everything is fully dry. So now everything's done, this is now ready for primer. Stay with me. Right, welcome back. As you can see, my Thunderboat is now primed, and it is looking a hell of a lot better than it was when all this was white and the canopy, you know, with the clear plastic. And the one good thing about the primer that I liked has happened, it's actually brought out a couple of issues that I need to fill in, because obviously I couldn't see when it was clear. Namely, this front section window here, I've got to do a bit of filling. Possibly a bit of filling around the bottom of the canopy on that side. And a bit of filling maybe on the canopy on that side. Now, also, with the primer going down, it's brought out the detail. I'm going to show you a couple of inaccuracies in my model compared to the actual Thunder on the TV show. I'm just going to move over to my computer, so hold on a tick. Right, moving over to my computer. On the left hand side of your screen, this is the Thunder in Paradise pilot. And this, on the right hand side of your screen, is going to be the Thunder in Paradise from the actual TV show that was syndicated after the pilot. Now on the pilot you can see that the back plate is all straight, like a rectangle. Much like on mine, pretty much. And then on the TV show, well, that's just gone to sleep mode. I'm just going to pause this a sec. And on the TV show it's more angled. It's narrower at the bottom and longer at the top. And as you can see, mine is totally opposite. So that's one inaccuracy. The second inaccuracy is going to be my side pod stroke thrusters. I mean, I've got the shape right to the TV show. You've got the long edge there, you've got the 2 smaller edges and that one smaller edge on that section there on the bottom. But as you can see, on the TV show, the actual longer edge should be flat. But due to the characteristics of that lip that's underneath the canopy, I wasn't going to chop it off and sand it down so I could make this more accurate to that. So again, that's another inaccuracy. Now, due to the characteristics again of that lip and the positioning of my side pod, the actual side pod fronts with the vents, they're going to be different as well, as you can see. I think, yeah, you can see that mine is slightly different compared to that one. Not much, but it's definitely different, as you can see. And then the last inaccurate part of it is this lip here, again on the top of the deck. I wasn't going to chop it in half and re-sand it and make it all flat. And again, on the TV show, you can just make out that it's a little bit raised, but not as raised as much. I think that is just the actual hand railing, as I've got there. But even though, you know, mine is inaccurate to the TV show, it's still better than nothing, because again, there is no kit for Thunder in Paradise, which is an absolute crying shame. So there it is, all primed. Now it's time for paint and decals. Stay with me.